Hey guys, how's it going? Um, Now we're doing some lazy stuff today. I'm doing something I want to do, even though it's doing a tier list, kind of lazy, whatever. Everyone does tier lists, but it's an excuse for me to talk about things I like, and all I want to do on here is talk about things I like. So why not just do what I want to do? First things first, I don't really like S, A, B, C, D. Amazing, great, good. We might change these later, but this is how I think about things so far. Dragon Ball Fighterz, though. In 2017 is when I've played fighting games forever, but 2017 is when I learned how to get like good at a fighting game, and I learned that with Injustice 2. And then Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite came out, which we'll talk about later. And I thought, this is going to be the next game that I grind and I get good at, because it's Marvel. A new one comes out, it's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then it turned out to not be looking very awesome. And then Dragon Ball Fighterz came out of nowhere. Everybody can share this story, because you're all looking at Marvel Infinite, and you're like, ugh. And then Dragon Ball Fighterz gets announced, and you're like, this is the game that I've actually been looking for. I love Dragon Ball. In my biology class, in the margin of my paper, I would put like 5L, 5L, 2M, 5M, jump. And I would just write out the whole basic B&B, and it's like the basic B&B that everyone in the game can do. But I was so excited that I memorized Trunks' B&B before I even got the game. And I played the shit out of that game. I played so much Dragon Ball Fighterz. But then I stopped playing it. I had a lot of friends that were really into Smash, and I was playing Smash 2. I was really excited for Smash Ultimate. And that became more of my focus, so I just kind of stopped playing Dragon Ball Fighterz for a while. And then new DLC characters would come out, and I never felt like they were really all that different. None of them really caught me. I was really looking for something brand new. Still, overall, really great, but just not something that I find myself pining for anymore. Alright, now we're getting into the Guilty Gears. But Guilty Gear Strive is, I think, is my favorite Guilty Gear. Strive is the game that is the first Guilty Gear game that I can comprehend the gameplay of. I've put a lot of time into Xrd, and I've put a decent amount of time into Plus R. And both of those, the way they play has never meshed with my brain, but Strive really fixes my problem of not understanding how to do anything cool in the older Gear games, because Strive is the best fighting game to just let you stumble into doing something cool. Yeah, you just mesh it together and it somehow works, and you get that feeling all the time. It's just it's a game that lends itself to that discovery process so well. It's also, I think, it's my favorite looking Guilty Gear. I like how harsh the lighting is on all the different stages. I think it really feels like all the characters are in the stages. I don't know, I think it's cool. The character designs are by far my favorite ways that every single one of the characters has ever looked. It does so much right for me. And I mean, when I hear this song, then it just reminds me that this is not just any fighting game that I'm playing. This is one of the best fighting games of all time. I love Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear Xrd, though. It's the first Guilty Gear that I got into. I'm gonna play this song, which naturally, just by the fact that this song is playing, will make me think that this is one of the best games of all time. This is the greatest character theme in Guilty Gear. It's not close, in my opinion. Marionette is so good. This game has the second best soundtrack in fighting game history. There's so much. For one, there's just so much music on this soundtrack. Not all of it is like a real banger, but it's crazy how much of it is the peak of fighting game music. I mean, that's what I think about when I think of Xrd. The music is a huge part of it for me. It's my favorite part of the game, and it's badass. The music sounds like this song. I mean, like, come on, bro. Xrd is sick. I don't have to say anymore. Plus R. I'm not gonna go as deep into Plus R as into the other gears. Plus R has the advantage of having Bridget. I fell in love with her immediately. It was the most I ever immediately clicked with the character. I love her so much. The game itself, not for me. I think it's great. It's too hard and it's too old, and it's not a game that I really find myself wanting to grind. But the fun I had for like the 20 hours I spent with Plus R Bridget is enough for me to say that this is a really great fighting game, even if it's not one that I find myself wanting to come back to all the time. We're gonna talk more about Killer Instinct later. I'm gonna leave it here for now. MK11 is another game that I was really excited for. The period from when the game was announced to when it came out, it was like 3 or 4 months, and they came out with news for it constantly, and it was really hard not to get excited as a Mortal Kombat fan leading up to it. The launch trailer for the game, which is my favorite trailer for anything ever, probably. It made me cry when I first saw it, because I mean it's very nostalgic for me. The way that it makes me feel makes me want to put Mortal Kombat up here. That's not where I'm going to put Mortal Kombat. I'm going to put Mortal Kombat 11 in the good tier with apparently everything else, because I don't love how it plays. I don't like meter in the game at all. That's my biggest problem. And if you're going to do anything fun, it requires meter. You know, makes sense that the craziest, most damaging stuff is locked behind meter. But it felt like if you didn't have meter, then you couldn't really do anything, which is not very fun. It's just a game that I appreciate, and the Mortal Kombat fan in me adores it, but it doesn't really do it for me anymore, which is unfortunate. But for whatever reason, I have high hopes for the next Mortal Kombat game. If it was MK11, but with new characters and a new story, I would still have a great time with it. Which actually makes me think I'm gonna put it in great, because I love Mortal Kombat. And I'm gonna put MKX here, which makes me put MK11 back down here, because MKX is a better game to me. The big thing that pushes MKX over the edge for me is how awesome the variation system is. Every character has 3 different versions of the character, and it's not like MK11 where you have, you can put different special moves onto a character and make it load out. It changes strings and just attributes of the character, and it gives new moves. It's 3 completely different versions of every character. It's so cool that you could be a Sub-Zero main, but you have 3 different versions of Sub-Zero that you can play at any moment. They all do different things. They're all cool. Great game. Good job, MKX. Oh boy. Marvel 2 is an amazing game. It's got, in my opinion, the best roster in Marvel, because I'm an X-Men shill, and it's got a lot of X-Men. It's mostly X-Men. It's a very unique game. It's a good looking game. It's a good sounding game. It's Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I don't have to explain myself. It's amazing. Ultima Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is a slightly more complicated game to me, because it's a game that pisses me off. X Factor makes me angry. A lot of the characters make me angry. It feels really good to hit people, and it feels really bad to get hit because of how hard you get hit. But no matter how angry this game makes me, this game is Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and it's one of the greatest fighting games of all time. And no matter how mad I get, I can always accept that this is one of the greatest fighting games ever made. And it's responsible for one of the best times in the fighting game community. And it's got one of the best rosters in any fighting game. And it's got some of the best music in any fighting game. Marvel 3 pisses me off. But that only makes it better. Because it's Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is a worse game than Marvel 3, is my hot take of the day. Despite it being, in my opinion, the most fun playing Marvel game. I much prefer active tag to assists. Because of active tag, it makes me prefer the 2v2 format. The roster, some of the additions to the roster are cool. Jetta and Monster Hunter and Sigma are cool. Venom looks great. And then you run out of good things to say about Marvel Infinite. I think the gameplay is so good that I still put it in great because I love it. It's just really bogged down by how ugly it is and how small the roster ended up being. It could have been amazing, but I'm glad it ended up at least in great. Multiverses is a very recent game, and it's a game that is doing very well. And it's a game that I was very excited for because it had Harley Quinn in it. And other reasons, maybe, but it mostly had Harley Quinn in it. Despite it having Harley Quinn in it, I just don't think the game ended up being for me. I really appreciate a lot of the things it does. I just can't really find myself having too great of a time with it anytime I play it. Maybe they'll add stuff, but I just don't think that the movement feels very good. I don't think the buttons feel very good. I don't know, I'll try it more as more characters come out and stuff. There's a lot about it that I appreciate and respect, but it's not a game for me. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is Third Strike. This is another game that I don't have to say much about, but I will anyway. The music is beautiful. The game itself is beautiful. It might be the best looking fighting game ever, of which there is competition because there are a lot of really good looking fighting games, but still Third Strike might be the best looking fighting game ever made. And it's just fun. The parry system is great. Choosing different supers is a simple way to change how characters play, but cool. The characters can do a bunch. It's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous in how it plays, and how it sounds, and how it looks. It's amazing. It's Third Strike. Nothing else to say there. Of all the alpha games, I included Street Fighter Alpha 3 because it's my favorite. A lot of people call it the Marvel of Street Fighter because there's a lot of weird stuff you can do in the game. But Alpha 3 has a great roster, and it looks great, and it plays great, and it sounds great, and I'm putting it also in amazing. It's Street Fighter. Come on. Street Fighter 4. Guess what? I'm a Street Fighter shill. Did you know? It's got a great roster. It plays great. I have a nostalgic bias towards it. Elena is cool. Yeah, I like Street Fighter. Sue me. I like Street Fighter 4. Now we're gonna put Street Fighter 5 also in amazing because I love Street Fighter, even though it doesn't have my favorite version of Sakura. It's still Sakura, so I love her. But when it comes to characters that I have played a bunch of in Street Fighter 5, Sakura, talking Juri, talking Akira, Armika, Laura, and every time I pick up a character, Nikali, Nakale I've played a bunch of. Characters are just fun. It started out rough, but overall, it got to be such a cool game. It's just a game that I like. I love customizing characters. I like how many costumes there are. I like how all the costumes come stock with the game nowadays. The roster is great. The music is amazing. I love it's all Street Fighter. It's all great. Skullgirls is amazing. It's beautiful. It's got great music. It's one of the coolest playing games ever. It's the roster. It's just amazing. It's Skullgirls. We'll talk about it more. It's going in the top 5. We all know this. We'll talk about it more later. Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U is the first game. The main reason it's here is because it's the first game that I ever went to a tournament for. It's the first game I ever competed in, and I had a lot of fun with it. I made a lot of friends through it. Overall, though, I think it's only fine. It's a good game. I feel exactly the same about Ultimate 2. I was still trying to play Smash 4 competitively when Ultimate came out. I tried to play that one competitively too. And then I was sort of on and off. I was getting more excited by other fighting games at the time, so I fell off, and then quarantine happened and I couldn't play it online, and now I just don't find myself having a lot of draw to play Smash. I don't really know anything about the Smash community anymore. I don't really know anything that's gone on in the game in the past 2 years. There's still nostalgia for me, so I'll put it in good. Melee, though. Melee is amazing. It's like one of the longest running fighting games ever. For how old it is and how big it still is, that's crazy. Melee players are annoyingly passionate about their games. You gotta respect Melee. It's fun to watch. It's cool. Mango won SmashCon, which is the only thing that I could care about happening there, and it did happen because Mango's the GOAT. Even if I don't follow Smash that much anymore, it's still Mango, and it's still Melee, and it's still one of the greatest fighting games of all time. Tekken 7. I'm putting Tekken 7 in amazing, even though I haven't really played that much Tekken. But it's the biggest Tekken. It's got a huge roster of really cool and sometimes really funny characters, because Negan is in the game, which is the dumbest thing that's ever happened, which is also really funny. There's the Mishimas who know their special family karate that it's just them. It's just their family karate. But then also Heihachi found a bear, so he taught the bear how to do Mishima style martial arts, because I don't know, it's stupid. I'm really excited for Tekken 8. I really want to give it a go and try to get good at it. But I love Tekken. Tekken 7's my favorite one because it's the one that I've really played. So that's just it. And then the last game on here is Vampire Savior. That's Darkstalkers for people who don't know. If you know me, you know I love Darkstalkers. I'm a big Capcom shill. Darkstalkers is probably my favorite Capcom property. I really like Street Fighter, but Darkstalkers is really special to me. The character designs are amazing. The gameplay is so fast and ballistic and fun. It's a special game. It's beautiful. It's fun. It's amazing. It's Darkstalkers. Now, out of these amazing games, I need to choose my top 5. You know what? While I think about it, I'm gonna use the bathroom, and I'm going to compile my thoughts. So I will be right back. I'm back. And I'm ready to decide. For now, this could change tomorrow, but decide what in this moment are my favorite fighting games, my top 5 favorite fighting games in order. And the first one.
Welcome to the world of Street Fighter 3. Prepare for battle.
gonna be Third Strike. I really love Street Fighter V. That's the one I've played the most. And there's a lot I love about it. In Third Strike, it doesn't even have Sakura, which you would think, how could I like it if it doesn't have Sakura in it? Well, it has Elena in it, and Elena is also amazing, and I love her. The game is just gorgeous, and the music is amazing. It's got the gameplay is crazy. Parries are amazing. The game feels infinitely deep and infinitely fun. I have such a good time anytime I pick it up. I would love to play it more. Any opportunity I have to play it, I eat it up. I don't even have a ton to say, but it's just a cool game. It's the coolest Street Fighter to me, and it's my favorite Street Fighter, and it, at least right now, is my 5th favorite fighting game of all time. Now, number 4, let me pull out a song. I like this one. We're gonna do it. Yeah, you heard the first note. Guilty Gear Strive is a game that I really like. That's not surprising. The gameplay is just the most set up to just be exciting and explosive and fun. The game is beautiful. I love the characters. I love the world. I love the story. The music is great. This song is sweet. It's just a game that makes me feel a lot of things, and it's a game that reminds me about what I love about fighting games. It just makes me happy. That's what I want from a fighting game. It's just something that just makes me happy. And now, for number 3, I have to pull up more music, and it's gonna be unavoidably a song that you've heard plenty of times if you have frequented this stream before, because I play it all the time. But another one of the greatest fighting games of all time, Skullgirls, is a beautiful game. It's a very special game. It is the fighting game that you think about when you think indie fighting games. The community that it's formed around itself, it's amazing that it's still getting new content 10 years later. The competition is still growing fierce. The players are so passionate. The music is beautiful. The animation and art is unbelievable how good the game looks. It's amazing. It's Skullgirls. So many of these games, all I can say is that it is what it is, but it's just how it goes. The pinnacle of the fighting game community looks like Skullgirls to me, and that's really special. It's a special game. I love watching it. I love playing it. I'm excited to play more. It's great. Which leads us to number 2. This one also should not be very surprising. Vampire Savior. I love Darkstalkers. It's a beautiful game, as all the other games I've put up here are. That's something that's very important to me. But the sprite work is not only gorgeous, it is crazy expressive, and it's crazy good at storytelling. The little storytelling moments in the animations and in the gameplay is the thing that really pushes it over the edge and makes me love it so much. The gameplay is great. It's fast, it's fun, it's crazy. It's both a game that when you get really good at it, you will stomp everyone in like 20 seconds flat, but it's also a really great game for new people, because it's a really fun game for just mashing on the buttons and doing cool stuff. Doing your specials looks cool. Doing chains looks cool. It's very satisfying. It's very fun. It's beautiful. It does all its storytelling through animation, and it makes the character so likable. That's what it's all about. It's Darkstalkers. And then my favorite fighting game is probably obvious to some of you, if you know me well enough. It's a very special game. It's Killer Instinct. You could probably tell that by when I put it on the list and I said we'll talk about this later. This is the moment. Killer Instinct is my favorite fighting game of all time. It is an incredibly unique and cool game. It's not the best looking game of all time. I think it looks great. I think the character designs are fantastic. But that's not the place where it shines the most. The gameplay itself is very unique, very cool. It's the epitome of what you would want from an easy to learn and hard to master game. The combo breaker system is super cool, and counter breakers and stuff on top of that make it even cooler. But they allow you to, no matter what is happening, you are always actively playing the game. You are always doing something. There's no downtime where you're just waiting for a combo to be over. You're always playing, which is awesome. Online is good. It still has some of the best netcode you can find. But really, the game itself is only like half of the picture. The thing that really pushes it into being my favorite fighting game of all time is half just the music alone. I mean, you're listening to this song right now. You're listening. This is Jago's theme. Jago. There is the reason that this song is so cool. Obviously, it sounds really good. That's a big part of it. It's just the songs sound cool, but the songs sound so cool that this guy, who's just like, I don't know, this guy's just like a ninja. Like, there's nothing really that cool about Jago. He's a very cheesy, very 90s ninja. But this song, I listened to the Tiger Warrior, and it transforms Jago in my head from being this cheesy parody ninja character into being one of the coolest fighting game characters, one of the coolest characters I've ever seen in anything. The best example of it in the whole game, though, is when we get into Spinal's theme. Spinal is just, I mean, like you look at OG Spinal, it's just a skeleton guy. He looks way cooler in the new Killer Instinct, you know. There'll be a picture here, but he's still just a skeleton guy. Like, why should I really care? Why do I care about this guy? He's just a skeleton pirate. There's nothing that exciting about him. But then you turn on this song and you realize this guy is not just a skeleton. He's not just a little, I don't know, goofy skeleton who laughs. This song manages to turn this goofy little gremlin of a character into this warlord, into this thing, into this terrifying beast that is being summoned out from hell back onto the battlefield to whoop your ass. And you get all that from this song. It's every single theme manages to do this to all the characters. This is why the game is so cool. Is because it's literally a parody cast of just these goofy, generic fighting game characters that the music manages to turn these goofy little characters into the coolest characters in the world. The soundtrack has the ability to take you and put you into being a kid in the 90s again, where there's nothing cooler than a ninja with a plasma sword, or a skeleton pirate, or a man made of ice, or a werewolf. It takes you back to a simple time where there's nothing in your head about like, oh, why is this character's so cool because they're so interesting and they have all this going on. That's great, that's perfect. But Killer Instinct and Mick Gordon's soundtrack for Killer Instinct just takes you to a world where these characters are badass because they simply are, because they're just cool. And this is what Killer Instinct is. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's hard to stop playing songs. I mean, now I got it. I mean, I'm gonna play Temperance and Vengeance. It just, we can't, we can't keep listening to these songs forever. But it's really, there's really no contest for my favorite fighting game of all time. It doesn't really fill in a lot of the normal spots for a fighting game that I love. It's not my favorite looking game. It's one of my favorite playing games. All this stuff is good, but the thing that does it for me is that it just is Killer Instinct, and just the game itself feels like this song. This is my favorite fighting game ever made. And if you haven't played Killer Instinct, this song, this is what the game is. And this is why you should love it that much. This is why you should love it as much as I do. That's gonna be all from me. Thank you guys for hanging out for 2.5 hours, listening to me talk about my favorite fighting games, and listening to Killer Instinct music with me. I'll be back sometime next week. Probably do more drawing. I'll find something to do. But I had fun with this. This is the first stream that I've done that was really more for me, because it was something that I wanted to do rather than it just being something that I thought that my audience would like. You know, I'll still do more art. I know that's why you guys are here. But thanks for listening to me talk. And I'll see you guys later.